As per usual, we maybe will knock a few of them down. You can see we have John's M16A1. He left it with me while he was out west, and it's about to go back since he's back today, coming back today. And thought I'd shoot it before I let it get away, and then we'll talk about this other revolver. How's that? So welcome to the compound. I'll be yakking at you here in a minute. Yes, Hickok 45 here, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills, leafy trees in Middle Tennessee, the home of Pat Summitt, Davy Crockett, Jeff Quinn. Oh man, who else? Oh, just I've got a list of people I forget about all. Chet Atkins. There's thousands of people that have lived in Tennessee. How's that for brilliant, right? And we're glad you're here. And I'm going to shoot this M16A1 just a little bit. How about this? Put one on that target. Why is it so loud? And just so you know, I'm not lying to you. Woo! Get that mag out. I never lie to you, of course. So yeah, that's John's M16, as I mentioned. Yeah, he left it with me. He's been gone about a month, and due back today. And I said, shoot it, whatever, you know, while he was gone. And I really haven't had it out. Hadn't had it out of the safe until today. Isn't that sad? Be sitting on a machine gun and leave it in the safe. That's terrible. Yet drag out ugly old revolvers and everything else. Well, you know, I like it all, but for a lot of reasons. I just didn't get to it. Thought about getting it out a time or two, and I thought I would get it. I'll shoot it on a Sunday, and that's kind of what I do. It's one of the beauties of these Sunday videos is if there's a firearm I've been meaning to shoot and haven't done for a while. Yeah, I think I'll get that out. I'll just wait till Sunday, shoot it, you know, and invite a few thousand people to, you know, join me. And since I'm going to do it anyway, I want to do it anyway. And I was really going to do it a couple of weeks ago, and then just didn't do it. I think we posted the video John did, or we did, with the controllability, you know, of that. And I said, well, I'll shoot it today. You know, they just seen that video. I'll wait a week or two. So we did that. We try to have a little variety. Don't worry about it or lose sleep over it, but we try to think about that when we post. If we just posted a shotgun video, you know, we don't usually post another one for the very next video. It's marketing 101. That's about the extent of our marketing, but we do think about that. Since we have a variety of firearms we have access to, and it's like, why post 3 videos in a row of 357 Magnum revolvers? You know, like, why do that? I mean, a lot of you would love it, and not many people would care that much one way or the other, maybe, but anyway, just something to think about. Okay, occasionally we think, not too much. So they'll get out there. I'm not going to shoot a lot, but take a few shots with it. I like, and now I also have this wonderful revolver out. Speaking of revolvers, you just watched that 357 Magnum, the last one I'd ever sell video, right? I didn't have this one for that because it's not mine. It's ordered it from Bud's. Notice they had a bunch of these police trade-ins, or yeah, in stock. And I have never owned a Security 9. No. Security 6. I'll get it right. Security 6. And and this one is the same thing basically, but it's the police. I don't know if you could read on that when I gave you a close-up. The Police Service 6 is basically the Security 6 without the adjustable sights. I don't think there's any other difference other than I think maybe all these were stainless, you know, as far as that, but didn't fix sights, okay? And just had never had one. I've looked them up a time or two, and I've handled them, and do I need one of those? I don't know. Do I really? You know, I'm a Smith & Wesson nerd, I guess. You know, when it comes down to it, I just like that feel. And Rugers have been around since like around 1950. 49.50 along there, I think. And you know, great revolvers. My first centerfire firearm, period, the Blackhawk, was a Ruger. You know, and so there's nothing wrong with them. In fact, they're built really well. I just like the traditional design and feel of the Smith more. Just that simple. And the Colt when it's a single action, I guess. But I like them all. Do I have to tell you that? But anyway, I tell you what. When I got this thing, I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that thing feels better than I expected. I don't know if I've even followed one very much. It feels good. It's a good size. It is kind of like a K-frame and rounded, especially this Police Service 6. Doesn't have, you know, big sights on it or anything. And feels good. Would you like to know how it shoots? I have no idea because I've not fired it. I thought I'll just fire it today for the first time. See if it works. Now you might have noticed in the video, this one's pretty rough. Look at that butt. I don't know if it's focused or not for you, but I mean, this one has been carried a lot. This is it's really not typical police trade-in. They're usually in better shape than this, cosmetically and externally, but it definitely, you know, it fits the description though of police trade-ins. They're usually carried a lot and fired a little, you know, not fired that much. And because we talked before, a lot of times police departments, they qualify a couple times a year, maybe once a year, depends on the department or agency. And if the officer is not a firearms enthusiast, he or she might not shoot much at all beyond that, you know. And so they just don't get fired a lot. But they're carried a lot and banged around, all that kind of thing, and as this one obviously has been. Okay. So I expect it to be fine internally and, you know, mechanically. So we'll take a couple shots with it, make sure. How's that? Sure will. I'll tell you what, I'll start out with 38 Special, just to be safe. So if the sights are not on, I'll do some serious adjusting. I forgot to bring a screwdriver. But then again, I don't think it matters that I did not bring a screwdriver, if you know what I mean, right? Even you new gun owners, you know what I mean. Can't do much adjusting there. Oh yeah, these are some lightweight little 38 Specials. We'll put these in and take a shot. Yeah, we do appreciate all those people you saw on the target. BudsGunShop.com, Federal Premium, which I'm putting into the chambers, and Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI.edu, SilencerCentral.com, all great folks. And we are going to take a couple of shots, the first shots with this thing. Not ever, but for me. Let's try one on the target. Boom. Wow, look at that, right in the red. Incredibly accurate pistol. Okay. How about that red plate? All right. I think it might shoot right on. I'll try one of those paint cans, empty cans. Yeah, pretty close. How about a bowling pin swinger? Boom. Got one left. Let's just, for kicks, throw it out at the gong. Of course, these are pretty light. I'll have to hold up, I would expect, on top of the gong. Yeah, might help too. I heard it hit the fence. Okay, so interesting. Works. It works. We'll put some Magnums through it. So glad you came out. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to shoot again. New people. This is, guess what? It is a shoot around, talk around, right? Yeah, Monte Cristo, white label. and so tune out if you don't like talking, because I'm going to shoot and talk. Man, wouldn't that condo collapse in Florida? That's something else. I tell you what, yeah, I talk about it, I'm sure you do too, how fragile and random life can be, right? You just don't know. It, you know, when your time is up, And it doesn't have to be something extremely unusual like that, but you know, just never know. And the longer, I don't know, in some ways young people are accused, of course, thinking they're bulletproof. That's the truth. You don't really have full appreciation for how fragile you are when you're younger. None of us, you know, did. And even when we're older, I don't know, I think also when you live decade after decade after decade like me, you just won't go away for many decades. They probably just subconsciously, or you don't feel like superhuman or anything, but maybe it even gets into your head that, yeah, nothing weird's going to happen, because it hasn't in all these years, you know. And it sure can it? Drop of a hat. Again, I shoot machine guns and muzzle loaders and everything else, but the most dangerous thing I do is get on the road, and you too probably, with a car, in a car. Drove across Tennessee yesterday, in fact, and just as we got over toward around Hammer, Knoxville, apparently, in finding out, looking at the news, there was a serious truck accident. I think it was an Amazon truck. My wife looked it up and said it must have crossed the median. Brilliant deduction, because it was a head-on truck accident. 2 trucks, I think. So on the interstate, that means one of them must have crossed the median. You know, I ain't too smart, but I figured that out. And there was death and just a mess, and it was blocked. We didn't know why it was blocked, other than it was an accident coming back. It was all day long. You know, it was in the afternoon. It happened early in the morning, and all afternoon, and it was just, you know, so, you know, you're going down the interstate doing what you are supposed to be doing, paying close attention and doing things the right way. But you don't know what the person next to you is going to do. What, they're going to fall asleep and move over into you, or someone's going to come from the other lane over there, like an 18-wheeler. Maybe he or she falls asleep. I don't know what that's about. You know, it's just, whoa. And all that stuff happens so fast that sometimes you can avoid it, sometimes you can't. That's the end of you, me, whatever. But just like being asleep in your condominium in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden there you go, you know. So you gotta appreciate it while you're here, right? Because anything could happen, and it does. It does. Kind of weird world we live in, isn't it? So up this John's M16. He's got the older furniture on it. The black instead of the gray he got. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let me take a shot with it. He can really handle this thing, can't he? In terms of holding it on target. I think he can do that better than I can. I don't know. I mean, it's a challenge. It's kind of fun to do that, however realistic it is. But you know, in that video, holding it on, you know, just to, and all that was what it was, just to demonstrate how you can group one of these if you just focus on it. That's all that was, to demonstrate the possibilities of it. You know, of course, all kinds of experts, you know, oh, it didn't mean anything unless you shoot a bunch of different targets. Okay, all right. We're just doing what we did, like we always do. Whatever we decide to do is what we do. But there's always people that expect every single video to be the end all of all videos on whatever it is you're doing, right? But it's interesting to just see that you can hold them in a pretty tight group in full auto, you know, because I think, as John said, there's, you know, there's a couple of extremes when people think about these. There's a spray and you can't hold them on target, you know, in full auto mode. And other people think that full auto is the only way to go. You know, why would you fire a single, you know, or semi-auto? Well, the answer is somewhere in the middle, maybe, and closer to semi-auto as far as effectiveness. You know, nothing like deliberate fire. Seeing your sights on the target, bang. That's the most effective 98% of the time, right? So the full auto is just, it's kind of a why not on a firearm if it's legal. But you know, and veterans who've seen a lot of combat, you know, could address that, obviously. But I don't think most veterans that have been in combat or going to combat, if they said, here, take your M4 or whatever, do you want it to have full auto capability? You know, we got them either way. I think everybody would say, yeah, I think I'd like the auto switch on mine just in case I need it. So let me shoot a little more with it. I think I'll empty this mag. It's got a few more in it. Okay. Yeah, 5.56 is loud. If you're ever around anybody shooting 5.56, you see somebody at the range with one of these. Maybe you're new to shooting, and you see somebody getting ready to fire one of these. Make sure your ears are on good. They're loud. Oh yeah, let's see, what could I shoot without doing any damage? How about that 2-liter on that wooden post? All right, yeah, I got it ready to go. All right. Well, I meant to knock him off there full auto because it, hit the wood, it wouldn't be that big a deal. I didn't put it on auto. I left it on semi, so she's empty. All right, but it's pretty controllable. When he puts the A2 upper on it, it's really controllable. An A2 upper, heavy barrel, really, man, that thing will just sit there and hum. You hold it on target. It's pretty neat. And that is one of the advantages for folks that are considering going through the process of select firearm. It's tough to beat the AR, the M16 or whatever in terms of flexibility because you're buying the lower basically, and with the AK I'm buying, if it's ever approved, I'm buying the Sear, but it's still not quite as flexible as an M16. I can't just pop on and off different uppers and things with it. As I told you, I put it in my arsenal. I had it put in my arsenal SAM 7 though, so that'll be cool. But with an AR, my gosh, I could, that thing hasn't changed that much in all these years. I could go back to the house and get my Daniel Defense, one of my Daniel Defenses. I should have done that. One of my Daniel Defense uppers, and pop it on there and shoot full auto. Just whatever your favorite upper is. You may have an upper and you got all the cool stuff on it, hanging on it. If you got a lower, you got the, you've gone through the process, and you can own a Class 3 lower select fire. Then it does offer a lot of flexibilities. John has made essentially created an A2 out of it, an A1, earlier A1, and all that sort of thing. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, this is so sad. There's people in Florida, man. So many folks apparently have not gotten out of there, and the count doesn't look good, and it's not a desirable situation in any way, is it? So, what else? Well, John's comedy schedule. Remember, he's going to be in Phoenix on July 16th, if you're out that way. Okay, he's going to be the feature in that club. And then at Zany's tomorrow night in Nashville, the 28th. So I'm going to go make sure he's still funny, because I haven't seen him for almost a month. Maybe he'll have some new jokes. So keep that in mind. And don't forget, again, stay in touch with your reps. The gun control wannabes and totalitarian wannabes, they're out there in full force. So, oh man, I'm not even going to comment on some of the stupid stuff that's been said by politicians this week, but you know it, and there's no secrets out there. Everybody knows what's coming down, what they're trying to come down with, and the same old tired excuses and arguments, and those are not for deer hunting. The deer are not wearing Kevlar, maybe they're wearing both. I mean, how many times, how many people fall for that? Is there anybody on planet Earth, there probably are 10 or 12 people, that live in a bubble somewhere, that actually fall for that, don't know what the Second Amendment is about. I know there are a lot of people who know what the Second Amendment is about and why it was included, but don't want to admit it. But how many people don't know, that now people hunt a lot with AR-15s, But oh, that same old stupid argument about 20, 30 bullets, we need that for a deer, you know, that kind of thing. You know, that has been in use by lame-brained people for 30 or 40 years. That it has, and it never goes away. It just never goes away. It's so stupid. Worse than brainless arguments. I mean, they're funny. They'd be really funny if it weren't for the fact that there are people that fall for it, or they want to fall for it. I don't know. But anyway, you got to stay in touch and vote and keep up with it. I saw Collion Noir on, well, was it this morning? May have been. I think it was. On Fox being interviewed, and he has really become, I know it has been for a long time, but one of our he might be our best spokesperson in terms of he's on everything. I mean, anybody who wants to say, not everything, people who are for gun control, for limiting your Second Amendment freedom, they're not going to have him on. They're not going to interview Coley on because he makes too much sense, right? They don't want anybody on that's going to make too much sense. They want people on that they can interview that'll talk about, you know, the deer wearing Kevlar, you know, that kind of mindless stuff. But Collion Noir is, he may be, not to diminish anybody else, but he may be the #1 spokesperson for the Second Amendment, and has been for a long time. And I'm just glad he has the fortitude, and has shown the fortitude to just stay with it, and not only stay with it over the years, but get stronger and get better, you know, every time I see him interviewed. So that's a wonderful thing, and he's a great spokesperson. I'm so glad he didn't let all the ninja warriors just drown him, you know, over all that NRA stuff, and the fact he worked for the NRA and all that as a spokesperson for the NRA. So, I mean, he wasn't like us. We just accepted them as a sponsor for a while till they got a little too crazy. But he actually worked for the NRA and was a key spokesperson and all that. And it's not like the NRA is this evil organization. Now, if you're an anti-gunner, you think it's an evil organization. If you're a pro-Second Amendment person, you just mainly think the NRA is not doing what they ought to do. They're not as effective as they ought to be, and they waste a lot of money and all that sort of thing. But on the internet, you know, it's easy to make anybody or any organization sound like Hitler or something. You know, if it's just a small sliver of people really want to. But so anyway, I'm glad. I remember on Instagram, you'd see he would post during those days. Everybody would just slam him like he was Hitler or something. It was really pathetic. But so anyway, kudos to him because he's a great spokesperson, and I'm so glad he has just fought and continued to fight and ignored all that. He really has, and that's what you have to do. He really is a good example to everybody. You have to ignore the naysayers and stay on course with what you do. Every decision you make may not be perfect, but you stay on course, think about things, make sure you are thinking about things and you're on what you're sure of is the correct course of action or direction in your life, whatever it is. And don't let anybody talk you out of it. And ignore the naysayers, really, because they're going to be there. Obviously, if you're in a public eye especially. Many of you don't have that to worry about because you're maybe not in the public eye at all. And so you really can just think about things and pursue the course, whatever it might be. So anyway, that's it was this morning that I was just reminded of that. So, and also, I don't know, what else? I'm going to shoot something. Let me shoot this thing with some Magnums. How about that? Now again, this is the police. It's actually called. It's written on it. I don't know if you saw that. I know I'm waving around here empty, but it's the Ruger Police Service 6. That's what it's called. Police Service 6. Written right on the gun. And that's long been I guess Smith & Wesson. I don't know if they weren't, well, I don't know. You got all these firearms that are like the police pasta. You got the Chief Special. So one of the things firearms companies have done for a long time was try to cater, not pander, just cater to police, because that was a big market, especially with handguns in early days. And people tend to look at historically what the police use, what they adopt, or the military, in choosing their own handguns or rifles, right? It's always pretty much been that way, because police, they need to choose guns that work, right? Military, so you can look at that, and it may not be your best, your favorite firearm. You may not even think it's the very best, but they're generally not going to choose junk or something that doesn't work at all, right? So it's kind of a place where people have started for almost centuries, I guess. So anyway, I think that calling that J-frame the Chief Special by Smith & Wesson was one of the strokes of genius. I thought it was a tick. Just things like that. So they'll just make that the official name of the firearm. There's a big market. So maybe now they should just, since we all have more freedom, we can carry these firearms, and so many millions of people have handguns, and 8 to 10 million new gun owners in the last year or so. Maybe gun makers should, maybe they do, I'm just not thinking about it. They should be naming firearms after you and me, just people who got in plink, the plinker. This gun is called the 357 Magnum Plinker. How's that? The backyard plinker. And that's really what we make out of all of them. How about that cylinder? Okay. All right, we got Magnums in here. All right, target, let's do a little double action. Woo, in the red. Real accurate. Now let's try the gong with a Magnum. Did you see it? Let me hold a little bit lower. All right. All right. I need to follow my own advice. If you've been following the Sunday shoot-arounds, and they are in a playlist, go back and watch them all. It'll only take about a week, right? In one a few weeks ago, I talked about what I do if I'm not hearing anything and I'm not seeing anything. Okay, let me bring those sights down, hold below the target. If I'm going to miss, I want to miss low, because I'm more likely to see it in the dirt, and so then I can walk it up. Even if I hold it down dramatically, like 10 yards below the target or something, and you know where you're holding, you can sort of even focus on a little rock or something you see over there, so some spot of something, and just make sure you get a good let off. It's even more important to get a really good trigger pull on those shots, and then just see where it goes. And you say, oh, I see the problem. It's, it's like about 2 feet above where I was holding, or it's still low, or whatever it might be. And that's what I did. I held below the target. I don't know about that much, I think. So, okay, I learned something. I was not holding low enough. And like I say, these are the first shots I have fired with this thing. And yeah, really have a good feel about them. This one has on it, I don't know if that's not an importer, maybe some distributor or some, Hoschton, Hoschton, Georgia, and GDM. I looked that up very quickly the other day, and I forgot. I couldn't tell just by a quick glance what exactly. It wasn't a police agency, I don't think, or anything, but it was some company. Maybe just bought a bunch of them, and then Bud's got them from them or something. I don't know. Who knows? It could have been 30 years ago, whatever it was. So yeah, good size gun. The Security 6 or the Service 6, good size. Cool. I've been remiss in not owning one of those. A lot of you feel like I've been remiss in not owning more Rugers, I know, but as I explained to somebody recently, I just, when I got into firearms, I got into Smith & Wesson first. I don't know, well, Ruger first, like the one I was telling you about, the Blackhawk. But double action, from my watching movies growing up and everything, and from what I knew, seemed like, speaking of police, they always had a Smith & Wesson revolver, you know, Model 10. In 1970, I maybe couldn't even have told you what model it was, but that was a revolver to me. And when I started looking around at guns inside, I love my Blackhawk, but I'd like to have a police revolver. It's kind of what we thought of them as. I'd like a Smith & Wesson. You know, I got to looking at them in gun shops, and that, I mean, that's what I was drawn to first. And actually, I have to look up the history on this, because Ruger had the single actions. I don't think in 1973 they had any double action revolvers, did they? So those came along a little bit later, I think, a little bit later. But I wasn't familiar with Ruger. I just didn't know much about them. I just knew Smith & Wesson and Colt, you know. And even though I learned about Ruger when I bought that Blackhawk, I thought I was going to buy, I told that story too, I want a 45 Colt, had just a little bit of money, and was still in college, and I want a 45 Colt. It's like my cowboy heroes had. And then that started a conversation about, well, you want a Colt, you want a Ruger? And I said, what do you mean, you know, 45 Colt, does someone else make one? So I was way dumber than I am now, believe it or not. Way more ignorant than I am now. So that's pretty pathetic. But anyway, I was a Smith & Wesson guy early on, and I am kind of a traditionalist, and I admit it. I don't deny it. I don't even try to hide it much, do I? You can tell from that video on the last revolver I'd ever sell. Most of my revolvers are Smith & Wesson. Now, the GP100. But now, that's not the only Ruger I have. The GP100 is nice. You know, I have the Red Hawk in .44 Magnum, you know, so I just, something else, what is it? I was thinking, but it was a different caliber, I don't know. But you know, so I have some Rugers, just not as many, okay? And that's the beauty of the hobby, you know, get what you like, do what you like. Try not to be a gun bigot, like I've talked about. It's okay to have a strong preference for something, but so many of us, it's just Smith & Wesson's junk, or Ruger's junk, or Kimber's junk, or whatever is junk, you know. And it's usually not the case. There have been some companies that have put out some junk, or guns that have had problems, and that's hard to get over. It's hard to outlive that once you do that, right? But you know, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, your main brands, that they're going to work. They're going to work. So, as I say, I've said in many videos, Rugers are probably in a lot of ways better guns than Smith & Wessons. You know, stronger and all that. It's just the design of them I don't like as much, and then there's more metal. Because they use a different process on there. They're more of a casting, you know, than forged, and so they make up the strength by having more meat, you know, in their firearms. And it's just a different design. Nothing wrong with them. In fact, this one feels really good. It reminds me of my Model 65. If it had a 3-inch barrel and a round butt, it'd be the same gun basically, or Model 13. So, pretty cool. Can I shoot it again? Put some more. Now let's shoot this thing. The one thing I was going to do is clean it really well before I return it to John. And so I thought I'll shoot it, you know, before we clean it up. And we're on the same, by the way. Lest you think that I would break the law. I'm too much into guns to break the law. It's just that simple. You know, I have to have it's not a boring life, but it has to be a legal life. I've always been that way. And there might be things I would do or could do, but I don't do it and haven't done because I have so many firearms and I don't want to jeopardize that. And then of course with Class 3, this sort of stuff, Same thing. I'm not going to break the law. I've had people so dumb that over the years, when they find out that I'm into firearms and everything, and maybe it's a colleague or something working with, they've actually confessed to having a full auto firearm unregistered. I've had people tell me that really shouldn't have told me. I could have dropped a dime on those people. And there was one person that deserved to have a dime dropped on him. You know what I mean? But that's a phrase from my old mob day. Drop a dime on somebody. Look it up. But you know, I would never do that. I would not even have something like this and not and keep it a total secret. I can't afford to do that, and even if I wanted to, because I don't want to jeopardize my interests, my lifelong hobby. You know, something that's not that big a deal. For one thing, you know, there's nothing there's nothing out there in the firearms world that is attractive enough to me that I would own it illegally, you know, and jeopardize everything that all my other guns and my freedom or whatever, jeopardize it, that is worth it. I mean, there's nothing like that. And like this thing, John and I are both on the trust, so technically it's as much mine as his, see, so, and that's nice because we can have it at my place or his place in either of our possession, because both of our names are on it, you know, even though it's his technically, okay? And it's the same with my AK when I get it. So, and most of you, well, a lot of you know about that, you know, setting up a trust and everything. So, same with the suppressors that we have, they're in both of our names. So, anyway, that way I can have it here while he's gone and all that, okay? So, anyway, now I don't want to mislead you. I am, there's so many stupid, utterly ridiculous firearms laws that I've talked about that really need changing for sure and fixing. And we don't need any more. But we need to do that legally and get that done because you really, really need to think it through if you're going to do something illegal with firearms. You know, even because there's things that you can't even have for you young people. You can't even have them in your possession. I mean, it's serious business to even have them in your possession. We're not talking about using them inappropriately. It's like take your favorite shotgun. If you want to become a felon in about 5 minutes, like saw off the barrel shorter than 18 inches on your shotgun, or your rifle shorter than 16, you know, without going through the process, and you're a felon. As ridiculous as that is, you know, you just have to go along with it, you know, and work through legislation to try to get that stuff changed. You really do. Things you don't agree with, which most of us don't, but still, yeah, think twice before you break any gun laws, all right? Think twice about that, all right? Could jeopardize, you know, your freedom in so many different ways, and especially to own firearms or whatever. So anyway, my little advice on that, didn't mean to get on that, but boy, there are some dumb, useless gun laws. All right, now this gun is like a Vietnam era, but I'm gonna put a 30-round mag in it. Take a couple of shots. Can I do that? All right. This is not the best full auto range. I may fire a little full auto though. Okay, may walk out here and shoot something. All right, let's put it on semi first. Yeah. And let's pop some stuff. How about a red plate? How to hold up on it. Okay, figured that out. You know, there's a water jug out here. Maybe I could put a little full auto on that. I don't know, without hitting steel. I got to be careful here. That's right. 30 rounds don't last long. So those movies that we all watch, you know, where they just keep on firing, yeah, could be a little Hollywood going on, right? You remember the video from last week or so ago, where John had it was a 60 round mag and emptied it a couple of different times. That didn't last long, did it? And that's 2 of those. You know, that's quick math, wasn't it? 2 30 round mags, and it's just gone very, very, very quickly. So pretty cool. All right. So, and again, I'll say, you don't have to have a select fire firearm for your collection to be complete, for you to have fun shooting firearms. You know, I had an Uzi back in the 80s. How long did I have that? From about 83 or 4 to about 93 or 4, about 10 years. And I shot it probably less than any of my other firearms, and finally sold it. You know, I made some money on it, and to buy some other guns I wanted, and then didn't have one. And I haven't had a full auto of my own really since then. Got this AK coming, and I'm, you know, technically kind of part owner on these, I guess, or access. So, but yeah, I can take it or leave it, even though it's fun. But there's a lot. I get more pleasure, as you probably guess, out of a fine revolver or even a fine semi-automatic handgun that I like. It shoots well, just those sorts of things. So it's not like full auto is up here and you've got a gun collection started, or you've just gotten into the hobby, and you see that as the epitome. Oh yeah, that's where I want to be. I mean, that's yeah. If I don't have a full auto, man, my collection is not complete. Yeah, if that's what your thing is, you really, really want that. You know, save up and you can do it someday. But it's I don't know what it's like. It's like to me, it's like a long-barreled Sharps rifle or something. That some people would love to have a Shiloh Sharps or a really nice Sharps rifle, you know, reproduction. You know, they may be $3,000, right, or more. And that's your big goal in your firearms collection. You know, it's going to be years before you can do that. You know, other people, I don't care. I can take those or leave them. You know, so to me, it's an unusual category like that in some ways. That maybe you're desperate to have one sometime, but then again, I don't know, it's not like your collection is not complete without it. Okay, so or your life is not complete. Anything else before I let you go? Maybe I should give the youngsters some advice, right? I bet I've got some. Yeah, I always had advice for kids, too much advice, right? Oh, man. Oh, Lordy, what was I going to... Well, one thing occurred to me, maybe in connection with the condos in Florida going down and things, and you know, was it yesterday, a couple, 3 days ago, and my experience on the road where I just missed, you know, just a little bit ahead of that 18-wheeler going off. And, you know, if we had been an hour later or something on the road, it would have been that truck would have been driving along beside us maybe. And I don't know, maybe run us off the road or worse, you know, whatever. You know, you just don't know. And one of the things about all this ridiculous wokeism and these intense folks who were trying to change the world, and that's their lifelong goal, and everybody is evil except them and their group or whatever it might be. You know, just I feel kind of sorry for people like that. And there's young people right now, whether they're 12 or 15 or how old they are, in college certainly, that are on that track. They're getting brainwashed into thinking anybody is, well, most people on the planet are evil, right? I'll put it that way, except them and the group they want to belong to, right? And it occurred to me that, you know, there's probably a lot of people who they're either missing out or they're going to miss out on some of the, I don't know, the simple pleasures of life. You know, just, I don't know, just whatever that is to you, just the simple pleasures where you're not 95% of the time all wound up about what's going on in the world and trying to save the world. You know, you're not a social justice warrior every minute of the day. You know, there's believe it or not, there are people, whether they're 16 or 25 or 105, they just take pleasure having a cup of coffee in the morning, petting the dog. The dog lying at their feet is a source of pleasure. You know, good old cat maybe, like my cats. You know, jumping up on my lap when I don't want them up there. I got work to do. They want to take the place on my laptop, but they're so sweet, and they just think the world of me. They're just such good judges of character, right? And just good old animals, you know, or a walk in the woods, just relaxing, you know. Wow. There are people, you wonder, do they ever have a real life and slow down and enjoy the pleasures of life, like a walk in the park or something? Go out hacking the woods. I go out trimming trees, for example, with a machete or something, and just walking, you know, or walking and shooting a little bit with my bow and arrow, learning to shoot a bow, throwing a knife, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people, there are a lot of people who just bypass a lot of the simple pleasures in life. I wonder about some of these folks you see, you know, interviewed or on air or in whatever, on TV and online. Gosh, did they ever spend any time with their parents? Did they hate their parents too? Because of some brand of coffee they drink that shows they're racist or something, you know? I mean, God, I hope a lot of them don't have kids. I hope they get some brains before they have kids, if they do. I just think there's a lot of people that they're going to go through life and miss it, really, because they've had this implant in their brains. So don't let that happen to you, young people. You know, there's a lot more to life than that. You don't have to have some crazy cause to fit in. Okay? Wow. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if that means anything, but it does to me. Don't worry about what is trending on Twitter. You know, I couldn't tell you. I don't go to Twitter. I think you still have the Hickok 45 Twitter, but I don't know if things are posting over there. I need to check that out and see if when I post something. So I try to remember when we post a new video to put it on Facebook, the link on Hickok 45 Facebook, because a lot of people seem to not know we've posted. You know, that helps a little bit, and but they do get notified on Facebook, and it used to post automatically on Twitter as well, and I think that got disconnected or something, maybe not, but other than that, if that's still doing it, I don't go to that. Yeah, I heard somebody talking about it on a news program recently about what's trending on Twitter, and I think it was Gutfeld. He said you could solve a lot of the problems of the world if they would just get rid of Twitter trending or whatever it is, because it gets people riled up, you know, and so in other words, I guess that probably embodies the most intense stuff, whatever that might be, or news items or whatever, or craziness. Usually it's not a real news item, I guess, that's going on social media in general. You know, so that sort of embodies it, I guess. So whatever people are talking about the most, or posting about the most, I guess that's what trending means, right? So, but anyway, if you're worried about that more than enjoying life and working on your career, you know, maybe a little reorientation would be in order. Can I shoot some 38 specials in this thing? Yeah, let's try it. Okay. All right. You know, again, police trade-ins, usually you can get them for a pretty good price, and maybe could be I don't know, it could be anything. M&P Smith & Wesson, I got one of those. It's a police trade-in. This is a police trade-in, and even if they're beat up, you get a better price on them for that reason. Let's see if we can hit the gong with a 38 special. There we go. I held low, but not as low. Yeah. Being the genius that I am, I held really low and hit it with 357 Magnum. But I thought, well, the 38 Special not going to be going as fast. It's probably going to drop a little bit. So just can't help it. Kind of smart, right? Pretty funny. How about a paint can? All right. Cowboy. Yeah. Okay. Whew. Pretty nice. It works. A lot of people call guns like that a beater or a truck gun, barn gun, or whatever it might be. And and that's what people do. They often buy a cheaper gun to have somewhere like that. You got to be careful about that. Everybody has to make their own decisions, but you want to be safe about firearms and have them as secure as possible wherever they are. And that's the thing these days. I did that video, what was it, about, gosh, what was it called? I lost track. Was it an FAQ video? Anyway, about the gun. Oh yeah, and we had the box, the dusty box, a gun in a box. That's right, it was how not to own a gun, I think is what it was. And was trying to make the point about just keep it in an old shoe box. It might not be the best idea where anybody could access it and that sort of thing. I noticed some comments from people, well, you'd have a gun if it's not we can get to it and all that. And that's true. That's true. If that's your defensive firearm, you want it accessible. But there's so many ways to not have it in a shoe box, all right, and still have it very accessible. Electronic locks and things. I mean, my gosh, I can get to any firearm I own in a matter of a few seconds. And there are boxes, small boxes for that. And I know they get ripped on the internet. A kid can get into them with a paper clip, all this stupid stuff. Yeah, whatever. You don't necessarily have to leave them in there. But if you're a gun packer, keep the gun on you. And if you go to bed, put it in that box or whatever, so no spot or place or firearm is going to be 100% secure. There are lots of other measures you have to take, make sure people are trained, and you just go as far as you can and keeping unauthorized, irresponsible people away from them, whatever that might be. Everybody's situation is different. You don't have kids around, that makes it a lot different. Still have to think about it. And again, there's no excuse for it. There's so many locks and boxes and electronic lock, quick access things and all that around. I mean, you can have a giant safe and with electronic combination on the thing, lock, and you're in there, okay? So there's no real excuse for it. And you do want to be careful too, just because you don't have kids, I always think about that with my carry gun or whatever it is, like, okay, what's going on today? When I wake up every day, okay, what's going on today? Is anybody going to be here? Any young people, this week or today or whatever, and things are locked up, and let's make sure everything's locked up anyway. But most of us gunnies will have one firearm that's fairly accessible, right? And so that's the one you want to think about and be aware of. Because again, you may not have any kids, but you don't know, maybe you're married and you're out like I am over on the lower 40 acres or something, and somebody drops by, a friend of your wife's, and they're one of your, well, you don't have kids, but of your wife or whatever, and they have two kids in tow or something, and they're in the house and parents not watching them, as can be the case, right? You might have your kids well disciplined and they know how to behave, but every parent's not like that. They might have a couple of characters that come in here, 8 years old, 10 years old or whatever, and they start exploring, every room in the house. What can they find? What can they do? And their parents don't say anything to them, So anyway, just be aware. Everybody has a different situation, and just think how it would be if somebody did get a hold of your firearm and there was an accident. You would it doesn't matter how bravado we want to be about it. That would be essentially the end of your, wow. It'd be the end of your enjoying the hobby. It would be, aside from any legal issues that it might bring up, of course, and then the tragedy that could occur, all that, you might be up in Washington the next week standing with Sarah Brady and Chuck Schumer trying to ban guns. I mean, it would just really hit you and everybody, dramatically. It would be such a tragedy and all that. Anyway, you just want to avoid, you don't want anybody to get hurt, and you don't want to be irresponsible. Just do whatever makes sense, really good sense to you, okay? In that video, I was not advising everybody that you've got to keep every gun locked up and totally away from anybody at all times, every second of the day. I mean, you carry guns. People carry guns. They want to fire them close by when they're sleeping, maybe, or whatever. So, but there's so many ways to do that now that's really, really safe. So anyway, so I'd elaborate on that. I never know what I'm going to talk about. I'm just glad that you all came by. Yeah, really am. And you got to see John's M16 again. Now I got to clean it. I'll, if it's a nice day like today, I like to get stuff like that out on the shooting table. I actually bring my stuff out of the shed for cleaning, and I'll break it down out there like I did in a video, didn't I? Oh yeah, did that a couple of years ago with a bunch of handguns, I think. And usually I clean guns in the shed and go lock them up, but I sometimes like to get out on a shooting table at plenty of room and light, and if it rains, it rinses them off. So anyway, the old Ruger Police Service 6, so that's what it's called. And they're pretty nice guns. You ever run across a used one, I think. I'll study up on it and learn a little more about it, and I'll be able to tell you when it came about. My guess is probably late 70s, 80, on here, I don't know, well, at least the stainless ones, because I don't know that anybody was making stainless much other than Smith & Wesson with the Model 66 and, the stainless, I got one, the Model 60, some guns like that, and then I'm thinking Ruger's a little bit later on that. I don't know. And, I'm more familiar with the 44 mag, the Red Hawk, Super Red Hawks, and those. So somehow I just kind of missed these. I really did. I don't know if there were not as many of them on the gun shelves for some reason, or what the deal was. Maybe the police were buying them all there for a period of time. Or maybe I was just walking around with blinders on because I love my Smith & Wessons. That was probably a lot of it, don't you think? So I'm going to let you all go, and I'm going to see you, I hope, next Sunday right here in these very same woods with these same oak, poplar, cedar, and hickory trees. Well, there's a maple right there behind you too. And what else do we have? We got elm. We got, thankfully, not too many hackberries at all. Sorry, don't mean to diss the hackberry trees, but I'm not sure we even have one on the place. Sassafras, I said poplar, we got a lot of tulip poplars. That's very patriotic for a Tennessean to have a lot of tulip poplars. Why? Because that is the state tree, the tulip poplar. So I will let you all go, and I'll enjoy the trees. Like I said, you got to savor nature, enjoy the simple things in life, all right? And especially if you're somewhat simple-minded, right? Like me. It just makes things more symmetrical. Simple-minded person enjoying the simple things in life. You might find it more difficult because you're not quite as simple-minded. But for me, it's easy. So I'll see you next week. Life is good.